All right, welcome to a news and nonsense special report, and this means war. Total OS Today and Spatry are duking it out in this Windows versus Linux roundup. How you doing, Total OS Today?
I am doing good. It was actually a fun weekend. We had that, news and nonsense report Saturday night, and you had the terrific nonsense on the picking your nose diet. But I just had a thought, Spatry. Wouldn't it be funny if the farting dinosaur stories, if the farting dinosaurs could actually pick their nose at the same time? I think that would be very, very funny. But, well, Spatry, speaking of farts.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Speaking of farts, your video that you did. Go ahead.
What about the video that I did? Finish?
I'm finished. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. The thing is, you did a good rebuttal there. I mean, I got to give you some credit there, but the thing is, you didn't touch on all of my points. For instance, can you install Windows 7 on a Pentium 2?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the exact requirements for Windows. I believe it's a minimum 512 RAM, and that's, bare bones starter edition. I believe it's possible, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say no.
Yeah, so that's another point for Linux right there. You didn't even touch on that one.
Well, you made a lot of good points, and I originally thought of just, playing your video and commenting as you laid out the features, but I really didn't want to make an extra long video, but maybe that would have been best. Honestly, looking back, maybe that would have been better, Spatch. I really don't know. I think I got the highlights of it on a serious note, but, maybe you're right. Maybe that would have been better to do it the long way.
Yeah, but the thing is, you were sharing, based on your own experiences and that sort of thing. And yeah, our views somewhat clash just a little bit. But
yeah, right.
But the thing is, I have to say, I was just getting a lot of laughs out of the comments people were leaving on your channel there.
Oh, it exploded the whole range from I kind of agree to what are you talking about and this and that, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, so you said you had something you were going to throw at me. What was that?
Well, I think I'll let it go. But I'm actually looking at the comments here on the video that I posted. And there's one late comment here, but this person says, why not have the best of both worlds? And you know what? That's what I do. I dual boot. I don't think you dual boot anymore. Do you, Spatry? I think you're just Linux, right?
I don't dual boot anymore. It's just Linux, but I do have Windows in a virtual machine, and I haven't even run it in 2 months.
Okay. The thing that I was going to say, where I was going to zing you, is how's the Arch Linux Highway coming along?
Well, actually, somebody gave me a very good tip on compiling a driver from the AUR in a virtual machine and making a package so that then I'll have that package so that when I install Manjaro Linux on my computer, which is an Arch derivative, I will be able to get full support for my Broadcom, which is exactly what I want. I have been testing Manjaro Linux in VirtualBox now, and I love it. And that's the only thing that's really holding me back. The fact of the matter is, all of my favorite Windows applications, with the exception of Sony Vegas, and I really don't need it because I've untapped the power of Kdenlive, and you can see the quality in my videos now. I actually believe that Kdenlive is now better than Sony Vegas for me because, it actually does everything I want it to and then some. And every time, I try and look, I just hit the forums on Kdenlive. How do I do this in it? There's just a different way of doing it than you would do it in Vegas.
Yeah.
And it is powerful. And the thing is, you made a point of saying that a lot of the software in Linux is junk. And I have to disagree with you on that because, yes, there are a number of applications for Linux that are junk, but not all of them.
Well, to be fair, I haven't tested every single piece of software. There's just tens of thousands. You mentioned Kdenlive, and it's good and it's powerful, but it was crashing on me last night, and I'm pretty sure I have all the updates, but maybe it has to do something with my video card, the drivers that we jokingly talk about. I don't know, but it was crashing on me, so I just freaking gave up. But I don't have the same success rate you do. I just don't, for whatever reason. Maybe maybe it's the compatibility issue between hardware and software, and that's possible. But yeah, I mean, I love Kdenlive when it works and when it doesn't. And, I'm probably going to have to boot into Windows 7 here the next couple of days to edit and just get it done. So,
well, the thing is, I'm using the Sunab repository, their release repository, and I made sure that I have the Fryer plugins and everything with it. I did not install Kdenlive from the Ubuntu repositories because that version that's in there is crapoly. You don't want it. You want the Sunab release. That one has the latest version of Melt, which is the framework that you use for rendering your video. It has the latest Fryer plugins, has everything you need. And so you need to go to the Kdenlive website and get that PPA for it. Because you're not going to run into the issues. The only time Kdenlive crashes on me is when I do something stupid, like cutting a clip in the same place twice, and I do that by accident sometimes because I'm getting happy with the keys here. Right. But other than that, Kdenlive doesn't really give me any issues. The only time I run into problems is when I have several effects stacked on top of each other, and I'm doing a rendering job in quad cores, and I'll get artifacts, so I have to turn the pipe down to one core in the Melt engine so that when I'm doing heavy compositing. But other than that, I don't have any problems with it.
All right, let me just go down through the highlights I have listed. I'll talk about the comments, and some of these are very nice and very friendly. We'll have some fun. But you mentioned, and I just have a quickie list here. You mentioned viruses. Absolutely, I feel more secure in Linux than I do in Windows, even though I don't have any issues with malware in Windows. But I know how to tweak it, and a lot of people don't. In Linux, with security, there really is no tweaking. It is more secure. It's not impervious, but obviously Linux has the edge. Hardware compatibility. I joked about the video drivers and drivers for my past printer, not the new printer. I know last year you had an issue with one of your printers, but I gave the edge to Windows there. Stability. Look, one bug in Linux, and you're toasted. One piece of virus, and in Windows, and a bug in Linux, and there you go. Running updates. Yeah, it's definitely easier, to run a total package update, in Linux. But the problem is, you're hoping that the updates aren't going to trash your system. Customization. Okay. Yeah,
let me touch on something here.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I left Arch, number one, is that is a high maintenance operating system, and yes, updates can crash the system in Linux if you're running something that's bleeding edge and they're pushing updates into the repositories that are not being thoroughly tested. Now, when you're running a Linux distribution that's based on an LTS model like the Ubuntu, for instance, okay, that's stable. You're not going to run into problems because the software that is in the LTSs has been well tested, and it is stable. And with the exception of your ATI driver, they tested it and it didn't work for them either. But if you follow my tutorial on improperly installing ATI drivers and compiling your own deb packages, you won't have any problem.
But I think he said it took you like 2 hours, and I'm not going to do that.
It did not take 2 hours.
Well, that's what you said. It took you like a long time or something, but you finally got it done or something. I don't know.
No. That wasn't installing the drivers at all. This was an issue that is also common to Windows users as well. When you are using a HDMI cable to connect to a high-definition television. Now, there are many different models of high-definition televisions on the market. And the thing is, there is an underscan and overscan setting that's in there, but sometimes it doesn't behave properly. So it took me 2 hours of meddling to be able to get my picture to fit the full screen. And that's something that Windows users encounter as well. But with the driver itself, absolutely no trouble at all.
All right, let me rephrase it then. When it comes to video drivers, I am a click and go person. No tweaking, just like I updated Windows, could go install, wash, rinse, and repeat, as you say, and I'm good to go. Never had a crash. I don't want to do the extra stuff in Linux because here's the thing. I may have the patience to do it, but most new users probably don't. And they're going to unfairly say, man, Linux sucks. No, maybe some things may not work and it may seem like the entire Linux universe sucks, but not all Linux is high maintenance, as you said. And I do make it clear that, like Ubuntu, at least the LTS is the long-term support. You're going to be fine. Linux Mint, Zorn, but I am not bunching that into all Linux. Okay, but if we're going to have a debate about all Linux and all Windows, then that makes it a little bit tough. But probably for new users, they just want to download, click and go, and just have the freaking thing working. And they may not have the patience, like you said, Spatry, to tweak this and do that. And I really can't blame them.
Well, maybe you should consider getting a Mac Total OS today.
Somebody actually had a Mac question today, what I think of Mac. and I said, Mac is fine. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my graphic here on Mumble, but the thing is, it shows the Windows user driving one of those 1980s K cars. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
And then it shows the Mac user driving a sports car, a nice shiny new sports car. Yeah. And then it shows the Linux Penguin driving a tank.
Okay.
And essentially, that's what it is. It's why it's being used on servers. Okay, how many websites are out there being powered by Windows? Nowhere near as many as Linux is, and so Linux definitely has the edge there in terms of stability because those machines run for years and years on end without ever getting shut down. And the thing is, they're using a stable operating system. I mean, there's and the thing is, Debian. There again, I just installed Debian on a net install so that I could test Awesome Window Manager, and and I've had the opportunity to play with Debian stable quite a bit, and I mean it's solid as a brick. I mean this thing doesn't break.
Yeah.
So I mean there are Linux distributions out there, and that's our job to let people know what the best of the best distributions are, what people want to be using, and that sort of thing. Something that is a true contender to Windows, because like it or not, Linux is the future. I mean, come on, we're getting over 1 million activations a day. Everybody I know has Android, either a tablet or a cell phone, and they buy them because they're a better value, because it's open source, it's free software, so that brings down the value of the the cost of the actual hardware itself, because you're not paying some bloated price for an operating system on it. And so Linux has seen just more than some tiny little measure of success. I mean, it's starting to boom. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going into gaming consoles. Steam is going to be releasing a game console real soon that is powered by Linux. And so what does that mean? We're probably going to be seeing a keel load of Linux games coming to the platform. So,
Sure.
And the thing is, just from the gaming experience that I have, and I have a video coming up on this as well real soon, Linux has proven to be a competent gaming platform, and in some ways, I can see a major performance hit versus Windows where gaming is concerned, because, for instance, I own the X series and I have those copies for Windows, and these things look sharper and they play better in Linux.
Well, here's the thing, and you know this, and a lot of people. I'm really not a PC gamer, so perhaps I'm the wrong person to talk about PC games in general. I really don't play a lot in Windows or Linux because I got my Xbox 360, and it gets jobs done. The games, they're $60, they're pricey, but I don't buy a lot of games. I only buy the games that I know are going to be high quality, like the Halo series because of the mythology and so on and so forth. But from what the community says as a whole. Okay, and from what I see, the PC games in Linux compared to Windows, they're just not there yet. They're just that wow factor, and I stress not yet. But I think I said in my rebuttal that it's starting to change, and there's a great future in gaming in Linux. But right now, I'd have to give the edge, in fact, more than the edge, to Windows when it comes to PC gaming. But I think Linux can eventually surpass it.
Well, I can say from my own experience, I mean, you've seen my shows a number of times, and when I'm doing things on my own desktop, there certainly is a wow factor to it, especially when I've got people asking me all the time, say, what theme is that you're using? You know, what is this you're using? What is that? That looks cool. So there is a wow factor. It's all in how you tailor your desktop, though. I mean, a lot of these desktops, you know, don't come up, you know, they don't release these desktops with all these fancy schmancy things anymore. I can remember when, Zorin OS used to have a wow factor. You popped in the live CD into your computer, and it had all really cool effects and all the glitz and glam. And you know, these Linux distributions are dropping all of that now, and that's a sad thing, because that's one thing that attracted me and drew me into Linux. And if I were coming into Linux now, looking at the way the desktops are that are coming out, I probably would say maybe not. You know, I don't know, because. But the fact of the matter is, what really attracted me in the first place was that I could pop a live CD into my compact computer and everything worked, and that never happened before. That never happened.
Yeah, it's definitely got much, much better, as opposed to, say, even 4 years ago, 5 years ago, which is not that long ago, but it's definitely got much, much better. I guess for me, for newbies, I cannot not yet at least advise them to dump Windows and go to Linux. Not because not everything, and I stress the word everything, not everything, it's just not going to work in Linux. It's not going to happen. I have my Zoom player. It doesn't sync in Ubuntu. My son's Android phone, I tried to sync it. It didn't work. Okay, this might work 6 months from now. But, you know, again, as the total everything working out of the box, and I mean everything, Windows has the edge. Now, you know, whether that's good or bad, that's up to the user. I think it's good, because at least you know that everything is going to work. But Linux is getting better, and I enjoy running a dual boot system. That's why I couldn't, you know, totally debunk your video, because you made a very good points on a lot of stuff. But you know, I enjoy dual booting, and it's one of those things where it's really up to the user, you know. And if somebody was to say to me, "Hey, Toss, if you had to dump one," well, you know, right now I really can't dump either, because I enjoy using both.
Now, part of using Linux is accepting a new way of thinking and unlearning a lot of what you learned. Now, it's easier for me to give Linux to somebody that is a complete neophyte and doesn't know what computing is all about. I actually have a few friends that really have no clue about computers, and so I gave them Linux. I says, well, here, use this. You won't have to worry about viruses. It'll work. It'll never slow down on you. And those friends that I gave it to are still using it very happily, and they love it. And in regards to your Zune, there are tutorials online on getting Zune to be able to sync with your Linux system. And while I will admit, yes, it may involve some command line trickery, the thing is, there are step-by-step guides that take you through everything you need to know, and it's really not all that difficult. And you were talking about taking a half hour or whatever trying to figure out something like that. It doesn't take that long at all. We've got such a powerful community that it's always ready, willing, and able to give people help. And I mean, if there's something I really need to know, you know, it's Ubuntu. How do I run Zune? And I'll find page after page after page of links, sometimes to the forums, showing people solutions on how to get those problems solved, you know, including with that printer driver. Then again, as a matter of fact, that is my first video that I have up on my YouTube channel. It was actually my second video, because my first video is actually, well, Linux does what Win don't. It was the very earliest version, and that was my very, very first episode that I did, and I actually took that one down because Welcome to Windows superseded it, and now this superseded that. But yeah, so I mean, even in my first videos, I was already sharing a workaround for this printer, because there were a lot of other people that couldn't get this working, and I figured out a way on my own to be able to print with it. And it was, you know, well, a half-measured way of doing it, but I contributed something to the community to get other people so they could get that working. And now we have full compatibility with it. And so sometimes it's just a matter of patience to get some of these things working. And if there's a piece of software that you absolutely must have, there are so many alternatives out there the Linux community provides, and some of them may not have all the features that the proprietary programs would have. But the thing is, they have enough features that most people would be able to use effectively.
Well, here's probably the best answer that I can give all the listeners. I'm willing to accept, and I'm perfectly comfortable with Linux working for me, say 90 to 95% of the time. And there are times where I have to boot into Windows 7, like Kdenlive crashing on me lately. I'm willing to accept that because most new users are not going to be multimedia people like we are. They just wanted to click and go, plug it in, go and and just go do their daily stuff or whatever they do on their computer. So for myself, and probably for most newbies, okay, they're probably willing, and I'm probably going out on a limb on this, they're probably willing to accept that Ubuntu. Now, let's stress here, Spatry, not all Linux. I'm not bundling in the high maintenance one like Arch or what's the other one, Gentoo. The really good ones that are click and go operations like, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, basically all the LTS. If I had a split Linux, non-LTS and then the LTS, that tend to be more stable, I hope. But probably most users are willing to expect, hey, this does 90% of what I need, and it's great. And somebody made a comment, why not the best of both worlds and do both? I'd like dual boot. Absolutely. But that's probably my argument there, or my thesis, if you will, that I'm willing to accept the fact that even if Linux can't do everything that I can do in Windows, that's okay because it's a fine operating system, at least specific ones, okay? Not all Linux bunched together, but specific ones like I use. And I'm not sure, what do you use now? Which version of Linux?
I'm running Linux Lite, which is essentially a stripped down Ubuntu that's lightweight. But I actually did a lot of tweaking with it and everything.
Cool.
And, to put my 2 cents in, for what I have here, my computer does everything that I want it to do, even more than what I could do with Windows. And I can get the job done in a fraction of the time than it would take me to use Windows. Because, let's face it, the way I have this set up, this uses a lot less memory and a lot less resources than Windows does. So I have more of those resources available and free to, do the things that I want to do. And the thing is, I even have Windows programs running natively using the Wine compatibility layer, and those programs are even running better in Linux. I always say this, and I'm going to say it again. Why have Alpo when you can have filet mignon?
Roof. Okay. How about if
you'd like that?
Roof. Let's move on to the fun stuff. I'm on my page here for the many comments. Thank you. Even the negative ones, those of you who posted negative comments with no profanity. It's cool, but let me just read a few out, Spatry. Maybe we'll have some fun with this. And I won't mention any names, but one guy wrote, "Great video. Now, if you and Spatry want to end your friendly feud, here's a solution. Both of you go out and buy Amiga 1 X1000 computers that runs Amiga OS. Then after that, you two can create a new podcast show called The Amiga Guys." I'll reply now. We can't because Spatry and I are from 2 different planets.
Yes, I would much rather do it on my ColecoVision. Adam, thank you.
Okay, but that was a cool comment. Thank you. Let's see here. I tried to set up a dual boot for a customer of Ubuntu Windows 8, and holy cow, what a headache that wound up being. Yeah, as far as I know, Spatry, only specific versions of Ubuntu, like the latest one, are UEFI friendly, or I like to call it the Goofy versus UFI. But yeah, that's why I stayed away from Windows 8. I know some of you out there who use Windows 8, it's faster and it works. Keep it, absolutely. It's not for me, and I think Spatry and I agree that on the desktop, it's not where it should be. But that's
stable.
Well, yeah, I won't go that far, but boy, it's close.
Yeah, I wouldn't push Windows 8 on my worst enemy, but, it is what it is. Now, And you made me lose my train of thought. I hate you. That's okay. It'll come back to me. You brought a knife to a gunfight, my friend.
Yeah, but my knife, my knife has a built-in grenade launcher.
Yeah, and you know, one good point for Linux here: if something messes up on your system, you can still fix it. With Windows, you lose everything because you have to format your hard drive and start all over again. God, I used to hate that.
Sometimes, yes, although it's never, I've yet to see a blue screen of death in my Windows 7 at least. But see, I know how to tweak it, maintain it, speed it up, but I just haven't seen a blue screen of death. I would love to make fun of Windows 7, the blue screens of 7, but it ain't there. I can't, I just haven't. That's why I think Windows 7 is the king, at least for myself. Somebody mentioned about Spatry, I forgot to mention speed. And I reply, well,
yes.
Yeah, that's good. Speed's good. But then I wrote, what did I write? It depends on which Linux distro you install. A full-blown KDE versus, say, Arch or Ubuntu, you can't compare those two because Arch is going to smoke it away, and so is Ubuntu. So speed is nice, but stability is better, meaning everything works out of the box. But yes, usually Linux is faster than Windows 7, but not always, because if you have a full-blown KDE version with all the plasmoids and all the bloat, if you will, it's not necessarily faster than my tweaked Windows 7. But yes, in general, Linux is faster than Windows.
Okay, well, let me share something with you. When I first installed Arch Linux during that week my show was down and I was transitioning from Pinguy OS to Arch Linux, I actually installed KDE. And I'll tell you what, it was lightning fast on Arch Linux. It all depends on how your system is configured. You know, that also helps determine, how fast these desktops are going to run it. And granted, there are a kiload of distributions out there that just pile on a bunch of binaries and, and go, oh, okay, well, here's my OS. And then you go slap it, you slap it on a brand new quad core or octa core machine, and you've got all your processors burning, and you got desktops.
It's one of those things. How much stuff do you want on your PC? But when there's comments like all of Linux is faster than all of Windows, it can be, but that's not necessarily 100% accurate. That's just the point I'm trying to make. But in general, I will concede that Linux is generally faster than Windows, but not always.
Now, I am going to make a concession here to OS today. Okay. I do have to agree with you on one thing.
Yes.
I never got a blue screen of death on Windows 7 that I can recall.
Really?
No, I don't recall that. And I do recall that Windows 7 worked okay.
Cool.
It just that, I had Norton Antivirus on my system, and viruses still managed to get in on it. And I got kind of ticked. And another thing is that because I'm a software junkie, I love to download and install software and play with it. And if it's something I'm going to use, I'll keep it. If it's something I'm not going to use, I uninstall it. Okay, and every time you uninstall a program, it leaves a bunch of junk behind on the system. It's a pain in the neck to clean. And of course, I'd still do my best to clean all that stuff out. I'd run CCleaner regularly. I'd defragment my hard drive. Okay. Run my virus scans and all this other stuff. All these things using up machine time, where in Linux, I don't have to, defragment my hard drive anymore. If I uninstall a package, it's, sure, it may leave some residual config files in my system, or in my home directory. Those are just configuration files, and they're just sitting there doing nothing. It's not leaving a bunch of junk that's still bogging down the system, And the thing is, all I just do is remove the package and then apt auto remove to get rid of its dependencies that were automatically installed when my package went in, so I don't have any orphans lying around. What can I say? Linux is just as fast as the day you installed it, and Windows, unfortunately, for the type of user that I am, it slows down, it slows down, and then 6 months later, boom. You know what? It just, rather than having to do all this maintenance again and again and again, over and over and over again, wasting all this valuable time that my machine could be doing something productive, you know, rather than having to do all these maintenance routines, let's just reload Windows 8 all over again.
Well, speaking of maintenance,
Windows 7, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know, we're not pushing Windows 8. Windows 7, and Spatry, thank you for being honest. You didn't see a blue screen of that. I haven't, and I think we both agreed that if you have to pick one, don't get Windows 8, get Windows 7.
By the way, Total Loss today, are you running an antivirus on Ubuntu?
You know what? Maybe I should, but I don't. And that's... And I had a question today. Is there an officially supported AV in Linux?
There are plenty of them. I mean, but the thing is, I have yet to find one that runs in real time, like, let's say,
that's what I was getting at. Yeah,
like Bitdefender, or you have Avast antivirus. And these antivirus systems hog up your system resources in Windows because they're continuously running, monitoring the system for every traffic that's coming in. And in Linux, our antivirus systems, we just do a scan when we need to. We don't have these things bogging up resources and running in the background all the time. And the thing is, you know what? I had Bitdefender, their free version for Unisys, installed on the system. I had it installed for 6 months. I ran regular virus scans. And I intentionally looked for ways of getting my computer infected with a virus. And it never found anything. And I says, well, to heck with this. I'm going to uninstall this. I don't really need it.
Right. Well, that doesn't mean that you cannot get infected in Linux. It can happen. You know, Windows 7 and I suppose Windows 8, you can make it as secure as Linux, but there's more maintenance involved. And I agree. Linux, I believe, at least in this day and age, it is inherently secure, more so than Windows. There isn't that maintenance factor, like you said. But I believe Windows 7 can be just as secure as Linux, but you have to make it. It's just not is secure, but you can make it as secure, to be fair. But
wait a minute now. Wait a minute now. Now, you don't want to go through all the trouble of going through the command line to set up your Android phone so it can sync, but you're willing to spend 2 hours wasting time to make your Windows secure.
It doesn't take me to. I'm not fixing video. I'm not fixing video drivers here for my monitor. No. You know what I do?
You're just shifting the time that you're wasting. That's all.
No, I let it do a full scan when I'm not using my computer, like when I'm sleeping. Well, you know, look, there's more maintenance in Windows. I know we joke about it. But I let it do a full scan when I'm not on my computer. That's all there is to it. Yeah.
Armageddon on IRC says there's one easy way to make Windows 7 secure, and that is install Linux. Way to go on that one.
Well, there you go. There's your answer, folks. What do I have here? We talked about speed and maintenance, and one commentator. You never did upgrade a Linux distro, did you? If so, you wouldn't give the update point to Linux. Sir, I think it's well, yeah. For upgrades, I'm not giving the update point to Linux. In terms of updating the software in general, I do. But yeah, I mean, I have updated from a previous version of Ubuntu to the next one, you know, because there's a little pop-up, hey, there's a new upgrade, and that takes forever. It's faster just to delete, reinstall the new one, it's faster. But on this specific point, no, I don't give the edge to Linux. But in terms of software upgrades, not the distribution upgrade, or software updates rather, I got to give the edge to Linux.
Now, you got something right in your video, right, from last night. The quality factor. You know, the quality factor in Linux is unmatched.
Are we talking about hardware or software?
We're talking about the quality of the OS as a whole.
Are we talking all of Linux or specific Linux?
Are you having a Prozac moment,
Are you? You can't even say my name. Spantry. Somebody called you Spantry, like a piece of soap or some spick and span. But okay, go ahead.
No, well, the thing is, you made the crack about the medication the other day, and I was just curious as if they had given you a mixture of Prozac and Viagra, and they called it Proagra.
Proagra. No, I'm fine, thank you. Well, I had to crack a joke this morning about that distribution review that what was it called? Something with the C. I forget. I cracked the joke. What's the last one you did?
Oh, you made some comment to me about
Coventry. What was it?
You made some comment to me about
Coronary OS. Coronary is. And I thought, is that a heart condition?
And you had another one you shot at me this morning, and that was
folks. We had a lot.
You wanted instructions on how to read English, and I said something to the effect of, I would do the tutorial for you as soon as you gave me the smartwatch that could turn an orange inside out without making a single slice.
Yeah. I see now. Yeah.
And then you said it was on the Arch Wiki, and I was like, oh, how stupid of me. I suppose maybe on the Arch Wiki they'll figure out how I can convert you over to Linux all the way.
What was the MS song years ago? I like dreaming, but anyway.
Don't quit your day job.
Thank you.
Well, folks, we've been at this for quite a while here, and I think I'm getting fizzled out. Well, I don't think we can come to a consensus here, can we?
I like the commentator who said, why not have the best of both worlds, dual boot, and enjoy both? And Spatry, that's probably the best advice that we can give someone wanting to try Linux for the first time. What do you say?
I would have to say that as well, because there are many reasons why you would want to keep Windows. For instance, maybe you have some proprietary software that you cannot live without. And when I transitioned over to Linux, there was some of that Windows software. I didn't know how to use Wine. All of this stuff is a learning curve, and a lot of these things you have to unlearn what you have learned. So if you're newly coming to Linux, you should dual boot your system. I agree 100% because, you have to learn the Linux way of doing things. You have to find the alternatives to the software, most of which is easily obtainable through your software repositories. You'll need to watch a few videos, maybe even read some wikis, participate on the forums. You know how I learned how to use Linux TotalOS today?
No.
I started Spatry's Cup of Linux, and you'd be surprised, because as I was learning stuff, I'd put up a video. And a lot of times I was wrong, and the community would step up and say, no,
yes,
you got it wrong there. This is how you do it. And you know what? I learned so much just by putting on my own show and sharing and contributing something with the community. And I'd like to say that
yes,
I've been at least 75% right most of the time. I mean, I even made a few mistakes today when I did the review of the awesome window manager because, I should have sat down and dug into the documentation a little bit longer. But the thing is, it was a request, and I was just going to have a little bit of fun with it. And I did that. I did have fun with it. And
look, we're human. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. We have a lot of knowledge, but we don't know it all. I don't know if anybody knows it all, but yeah, I mean, but I've learned to, obviously, like you have, and because it's a continual learning process for me in both Linux and Windows, by the way. But that's okay. I don't mind that because to me it's fun. Being patient and learning something. There is a fun. It's not for everybody. People, probably a lot of newbies, they just want to download, plug it in, sync, and go and ready to go. That's okay too. And Spatry and I are here to help you that. And to be perfectly honest, Spatry is going to know more about Linux than I do because that's all he uses. So he should know more. I still dual boot. But if you have a question, one of us can probably point you to the right answer if we don't know it. But that's what we do.
You know what I used to do? Yeah. I used to get people send me messages and ask me how to do something, and if I didn't know, I'd go look it up online. I'd ask Mr. Google and then type in the answer for them. Again, that's just another way that I learned just by helping somebody else out rather than just being a real twerp about it and just saying, ask Mr. Google.
Right.
But a lot of times, because there's only so much that you can say in a comment on YouTube.
Yes.
I'll say, well, you can use this program, and then in parentheses, Google is your friend, meaning that means it'll be in the first 3 results. You'll find the answer, rather than me having to say, go to this website and that or whatever, and obfuscate the URLs and all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, and we should wrap this up here, at the end of the day, it is up to the end user to decide for themselves what is better for them to use. And while I personally feel that Linux really redefined the way I work on my computer today, that doesn't mean that somebody else is going to have the same experience that I did.
Yes.
I came into this with a desire to learn something new. I had been using Windows all these years, and I was just getting sick of the same old. I wanted something new. And when you want something bad enough, you're going to go to any lengths to get it. Plain and simple. And if you're not willing to put an effort into this, Linux is not for you. You need to stick with Windows. You need to stick with your Mac. You need, but I mean, hard work pays off, plain and simple.
Yes,
and my experience has shown that you will get more out of this than you put into it if you just go in there with an open mind. You'll realize, there are some things you can't do the same way that you did in Windows. You have to learn the new way of doing things.
Yes.
But once you get around all of these hurdles, okay, you will have an experience that is just unmatched.
No OS is going to be perfect. Okay, make sure that we stress that each has its plus and minuses. Is kink. And somebody, I don't know if he was joking or not, but he says something like, if when I get or got viruses in Windows, I'd rather take a zip line to a brick wall. And my reply was, well, you know what? When I get bugs in Linux, I feel like my privates left me last Tuesday. I mean, what am I going to say? But no OS is perfect. If it works, use it, keep it. If it's only Linux, keep it. If it's only Windows, keep it. If you're like me, where both work, because me and Spatry know how to make it work and tweak it. But if you try it and don't like it, that's okay. Look, it's all about freedom. Freedom to choose what works for you. And, we're not trashing Windows or Linux. We'll make fun of both and this and that, but it's just for fun. But both.
Who says it's for fun?
Fine, party pooper. Goodbye. Anyway, I'm done.
All right. Well, I guess we're not bleeding too much from firing rounds at each other here. So I guess we will live to see another news and nonsense report. What you say, you Total West today?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I was prepared, Spatry. I had the ambulance waiting outside the house, but I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, everybody's been handing me grenades and all this other stuff here, so...
This is not fishing with dynamite. Come on.
Well, you never know when a 2-kiloton missile might come in handy. We're done.
Adios. Thank you. God bless. Use both, and bye-bye.